Hi everyone, it's Dutch Reefer here and welcome to this Focus Friday video. So, following up on the video that I made last week, where I explained something about the difficulties that my tank is going through, this is a follow-up video explaining some of the elevated values from the ATI ICP test that I did. The results came in yesterday, so that's perfectly in time for this video. Also, I want to start off by saying that I really appreciate the info and the input you gave me based on the last video. I got a lot of very good responses, responses that I really could use in determining what the heck is going on with my tank. So I really appreciate the feedback that you gave me and the input that I could use in determining what I could do to overcome this. One of the main comments that was made by several people was, "Dude, chill out, you're having new tank syndrome. It happens to every new tank." And in fact, I think you're right. So while I had gone through a reboot before, that was, a fairly small reboot using a lot of the same water and same rocks that I had used before. So the impact was a little smaller, although there was of course an impact. And this impact was a lot bigger since I took a lot of rocks from the other guy's tank as well, took even a lot of water from the other guy's tank. So naturally the shock to the tank is a lot bigger, and then I should have been adding more bacteria from the start, because when you start up a new reef, first thing to get in order is your bacterial cultures inside your tank, and I have been neglecting that. So thanks for pointing me in the right direction. I'll show you which bacteria I'm using a bit later on in this video. So yeah, I've been thinking about it and reading your responses and taking actions accordingly. And as you can see, at least that's from my view, I hope you will notice the same, is that the tank already looks a little better. So while it's not there yet, the corals, the color of the corals is slightly improving already. I can see some new growth, for example, at this Montipora at the top, which was really in a very bad shape a few weeks ago, and I can see that it seems like there's small new growing edges already developing. So I'm hopeful that the worst is behind me, and that we can now start looking forward to building up this reef, which I still thoroughly enjoy. So let's first start off, or continue, because we're already 3 minutes in, with the results from the ATI test. So as you might be aware, you can test your water yourself, but you can also have your water tested by a company. There are several companies out there that do these tests, for example Triton or ATI, and I'm sure there's several more. I've used both Triton and ATI, and since I really like the web interface that ATI provides, where you can see the development of your parameters over time, I've decided to use that again. So actually the results were not that big of a shock to me. I was expecting this already. Let's just start off by at the top. So the main parameters, so that's the hardness of the water, the carbonate hardness, the magnesium and the calcium are elevated quite a bit, and that can be explained by the fact that my nutrients are through the roof. So the nutrients are really high. That inhibits coral growth, and because the corals don't grow anymore or even start dying, that means that your tank uses a lot less more of the base elements that you're adding. So I have been adding too much of the solutions from the ATI Essentials Pro Mix, which I've actually turned down now to close to nothing, to get these values back in check. So my KH is over 10, where it should be around 8 ideally. The magnesium is a bit high, but I'm not too worried about that since I like running on high magnesium. So 1400 to 1600 is perfectly normal for me. And calcium is way too high, so that should be around 400 to 450, and it's around 500. So those I'm going to adjust just by turning off the dosing machine, tuning it down a little. Then, of course, there is the high phosphates and the nitrates. The phosphates have come down significantly already, so it was measured at only 0.14, while I measured 0.5, 0.6 before, and that is caused by, which I showed you last week, the phosphate RX, which contains the pollutant lanthanum, and lanthanum is something that really eradicates phosphates really quickly, but then of course instead of phosphates you have lanthanum in your water, which is not good either. Combined with some heavy metals, or at least metals in the tanks, so that's cobalt, copper are the most significant ones, which are elevated, as you can see right here. Not too worried about those, but I have been I started adding some carbon as well to the tank. So there's 1 kilogram of carbon currently in a filter sock in the tank to remove those. So all in all, based on these results, the base elements were a bit too high, so I tuned them down. The nitrates and phosphates are too high, so I need to manage those. I'll briefly show you in a minute, but I have shown before how I'm removing nitrates and phosphates. And the lanthanum needs to come down. But other than that, the results are, well, not as bad as I might have suspected. And well, that's a good thing, of course, since if something more serious was going on, then I might needed to take more desperate measures, which is not the case at the moment. The main thing is just letting the tank do whatever it does and try to keep it as balanced as possible while it's going through the phases that a new reef is going through anyway. So a brief look at the products that I've bought this week to overcome this. So as I mentioned, the carbon from Aquaforest in this case. There's a lot of different carbons around. I really like the carbons which are not very small, so these are similar to the Roa carbon, but they came in a 1 kilo bag and I needed one for the tank anyway, so I bought two. One is in right now. And I've bought some bacteria. I got a lot of tips based on bacteria, so thanks for that. I have very good experiences with the Microbe Lift Special Blend. They are, well, from my experience, they are very good bacteria. They are smelly as, well, let's just say really smelly. So when you open it, it will release a very peculiar and sewer-like smell, which is a good thing, I've been told. So I'm adding that. I have added that, half a bottle, based on my tank being over 1,000 liters, and 2 follow-up treatments in a week and in 2 weeks. And then daily I am adding the BioS from Aquaforest as well. This is to be used for new tanks, for tanks that need to cycle. They contain a lot of nitrifying bacteria for starting up. So I thought it would be a good idea to start using this as well, and combined with the Microbe Lift Special Blend. So basically, the treatment that I'm going through is 1, don't change too much. My reef structure has been redone a couple of times now. It's now in a state where I really like it. I'm doing small water changes every every few days, so once or twice a week, removing the cyanoalgae from the sand, and just siphoning the sand and adding some fresh water mixed with Aquaforest probiotic reef salt, and adding bacteria, adding carbon to make sure that the any pollutants are being removed from the water, and in that way hope that the stability returns soon and that the nutrients come down eventually, and in that way creating a healthy reef again. So I'm looking forward. I'm pretty positive about the outcome of the test. Let me quickly show you my my filtration chamber as a closing out of this video. So in the filtration chamber, of course, the skimmer is doing its job. The carbon is right here, so it's in a high flow area. It's a filter bag with 1 kilo of carbon in there. Should be good for a couple of weeks, and then I'll replace it with the new bag. And the macroalgae have been growing like crazy. Really, I reduced the amount 2 weeks ago until there were only a few leaves left here and there, and it has already regained its full capacity again. So I'll need to remove some this weekend to prevent it from dying off and just to give it some more space to grow again. So of course that can be explained by the high amount of nitrates and phosphates in the tank. So naturally the amount of algae will increase rapidly since it grows off that. So to close out the video, I'm very glad that I did the ICP test. It gives you a complete overview of the water values, the water parameters of your tank, without having to doubt if you did it correctly or if the test was accurately. There was one comment saying that even these reputable companies like ATI and Triton are not always accurate because it depends on how clean their equipment is. I cannot comment on that, so I really just hope that they that the results are close to reality. It does seem that way because I can relate to the results and what I'm seeing in my tank. So all in all, I'm confident that just by continuing, I will get this reef back in good health. And actually, as we're looking at it right now, I'm already feeling better about the way it is going. So closing out, I did also replace the lights. So the T5 bulbs, which are 4 ATI Coral Plus bulbs, were already a year old, and I tend to replace my lights every 10 to 12 months. So it was time to change them. Let's do everything at once, have everything, the basics back in order. So new lights, new bacteria, hopefully a new start to my reef. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did, so I'll hope to see you in the next one. Have a great weekend for now, and see ya. Bye bye.